Alright guys, today we are diving into one of the most requested videos on the channel, top 10 best free-to-play horror games you can play right now on Steam. And I'm not talking about the usual jump scares. We got everything from psychological horror that will mess up with your head to survival horror where every bullet counts. So if you have been looking for the best free horror games on the market, this video is absolutely for you. And all of these games are 100% free to play. You can simply go ahead and download them on Steam. So none of these games are in any particular order, so without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into our number one. Alright guys, I'm starting with one of the most popular games on our today's list, and that is SCP Secret Laboratory, a free-to-play multiplayer horror game set in a chaotic aftermath of an SCP contaminant breach. You jump into rounds with one of the several characters, scientists, Class D test subject, guards, mobile task force, and of course SCPs themselves, each with their own goals and survival strategies. The gameplay is about unpredictable, often hilarious chaos, basically running, hiding, backstabbing, forming weird alliances, and incredibly fun if you get a bunch of friends to play with you. At each round, every character has a unique set of objectives to complete, with tons of characters to choose from. No doubt there is a huge replayability value. It's a pretty popular game on Steam right now, having close to like 10,000 daily concurrent players. Definitely worth a shot if you're looking for a fun, free-to-play multiplayer horror experience to jump in with your friends. At number 2, we got the Border Rooms. So imagine jumping into a goofy, horror-themed multiplayer game where you trap in a living, shifting maze, and your biggest threats might be these spooky skeletons. It's a chaotic PvP and PvE. You can set up to 8 players. There is proximity voice chat. You get over 15 different items to sabotage your pal with. Right now there are a bunch of game modes in the game. You can play free-for-all, team up in red versus blue, or even tackle co-op if you want to survive together. I believe this one was actually a paid game at launch, but recently the game went completely free to play, and right now it seems pretty positive reviews on Steam. So ultimately, if you're looking for a funny, harmless, spooky party game that is super fun to jump in with your friends, this one is highly recommended. Dead Frontier 2 is a free-to-play survival horror MMO where you step into the shoes of one of the few survivors left in this zombie-infested post-apocalyptic world. It got that dark and gritty vibe. You scavenge for supplies, leveling up skills, and even trading with other players just to stay alive. The basic gameplay and the combat remind me of the classic Resident Evil games. It got that third-person tense, ammo is very limited, so you really have to make each shot count. In terms of popularity right now, the game got a pretty solid following. Right now have about few thousand people playing, so it's not a blockbuster hit, but it holds a niche audience who love its survival depth and character progression. It's pretty dark and intense, a solid game to play with friends. So all in all, if you're into survival horror with a bit of a MMO twist, Dead Frontier 2 is definitely worth jumping into. Next up, we got Project Playtime, a free-to-play multiplayer horror game that flipped the script on traditional survival horror games. So basically in this game, 6 players team up as resource extraction specialists to gather toy parts scattered around this toy factory. Meanwhile, the 7th player takes on the role of a terrifying monster with a one goal in mind: find and eliminate the survivors. The gameplay is a blend of teamwork and tension. Survivors must solve puzzles to unlock toy parts while avoiding the monster lurking in the shadows. On the other hand, the monster uses its unique abilities to track and hunt down the survivors. The atmosphere is pretty dark and unsettling, and the factory settings provide a perfect backdrop for the horror. It's a pretty fun game to jump in with friends, but it's not as popular as it used to be. But still, if you're a fan of horror games or looking for something different, it's still a fun free-to-play experience that you can jump in right now. When we talk about free-to-play horror games on Steam, there is one classic game that we simply cannot forget about, and it is Cry of Fear. Initial release back in 2013, this hidden gem of a game that really kicked off with a bang. It's a single-player survival horror game. You play as Simon, a 19-year-old boy who wakes up in a dark alley after a car accident, and from there the things get seriously twisted. The game set you in a creepy Scandinavian city filled with nightmarish creatures and psychological horrors. It's got that gritty, old-school survival horror vibe, kind of mix of Silent Hill and a little bit of Half-Life vibe. It's a pretty old school game, so in 2025 visually it's really not that impressive, but in terms of atmosphere, it's thick with tension and the combat pretty intense as well. And there's a deep story in the game with emotions exploring themes like trauma and mental illness. It's totally free to check out right now on Steam, so if you're a psychological horror fan with a side of survival, this one is a must play for you. Alright, moving on to a couple of free to play horror social deduction style of game. At first we got Fear Surround. It's a free-to-play horror game that blends tension of social deduction with the eerie atmosphere of supernatural. It's a 3D werewolf style of a game, and players are basically divided into two main groups, the good guys and the specters. So specters' goal is to eliminate the good guys without being detected, while the good guys must try to identify and vote out the specters during meetings. The game features of various professions, each with unique abilities and multiple maps to keep the gameplay fresh and engaging. The game's atmosphere is designed to keep you on the edge with tense moments and constant threat of betrayal. So if you are a fan of games like Among Us but crave a darker, more supernatural twist, Fear Surround is worth jumping into. And talking about similar social deduction style of games, next up we got Deceit 1 and Deceit 2. Both games are fun to play with friends and very similar in popularity. Deceit 1 came out back in 2017, and you're basically being locked in a creepy asylum with a group of strangers, and two of you are secretly infected and try to sabotage the rest, while the others have to figure out the bad guys before it's too late. It's all about trust, deception and quick decision. Still pretty fun to jump in with bunch of friends. And we also got Deceit 2 released in 2023, and it recently went completely free to play. The sequel takes everything up a notch. You're still stuck in a creepy place, but now it's more roles to play like the Guardians and the Cursed One. The game leans more into social deduction, so voice chat is a must. It got more darker vibe and more polished visual thanks to the Unreal Engine 5. Both games are totally free to play and still very much fun to play in 2025. Silly's Game Show is a free co-op horror game that feels like a twisted mix of Five Nights at Freddy and a game show gone absolutely wrong. You and your friends are basically trapped in this creepy room with one flashlight and two doors to defend yourself. You have to survive 10 intense challenges while fending off creepy animatronics that gets more aggressive as the game goes on. It's a co-op game, so you need to have a partner to play this. So the game is all about teamwork. You'll need to solve puzzles, manage doors, and use your flashlight wisely to keep the animatronics at bay. Still a very new game on Steam, so some of the Steam reviews mentioning the game is a bit rough around the edges. But if you're looking for a free co-op horror experience that keep you on your toes, this is a pretty cool game you can try out right now for absolutely free. Next up we got Vigil, a short and narrative style horror game that's set in a creepy underground facility. You play as an employee whose job is to disposing of boxes, but you are not totally alone. There's a terrifying creature lurking around, but here's the kicker. It only moves when you blink or look away, and the game actually detects your real-time blinks with your webcam. So I would say it's a bit creepy, but you can always opt it out for a keyboard substitute if you don't have one. But we gotta agree, it's a pretty cool gimmick to add on a horror game. The gameplay concept, it's pretty simple but intense. You are cautiously hauling through boxes, try not to blink, while the monster can teleport behind you at any moment. It's a pretty compact, intense experience, but only lasts you about 30 minutes, so it's a very short game. But if you are for a free indie horror experience like this, it's definitely worth jumping into, but just maybe don't play in a dim room at 3 AM unless you're ready to jump out your skin. Alright, moving on to our final game on the list, we got Fear of Fathom Home Alone. It's a free-to-play psychological horror game that put you in the shoes of a 14-year-old kid that left alone at home while parents are away. The game kicks off with a relatable setup, typical stuff like doing homework, ordering pizza, before things take a terrifying turn. The atmosphere is thick with tension thanks to the photorealistic graphics and a VHS-style aesthetic. The gameplay is very immersive, offers you a first-person exploration, interactive elements like receiving text from NPCs, and the story unfolds through your action and choices, keeping you on the edge as you navigate the unsettling events of the night. Unfortunately, the first episode is the only one it's free right now. The subsequent episodes are actually paid ones. But all in all, if you're into psychological horror game with a touch of realism and suspense, definitely give it a try on Fear of Fathom. Well, that's a wrap on our today's list, 10 of the best free-to-play horror games on Steam right now. So whether you're into psychological horror games or survival horror games, these games are perfect to dive into without spending a dime. As always guys, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe and stay tuned for more free-to-play coverage like this. I'll catch you guys soon in the next one. Stay safe.